I remember like back in the day when I used to wear the Africa medallion and stuff when I was a kid back in like freshman year, sophomore year in high school. You wear that kind of stuff when you're a kid and stuff, and you're a little bit more Afrocentric and all that. And anyways, just had that mindset when I was a kid and stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, like, there was a conversation that I had amongst my friends at one point about being black and proud and stuff like that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, would it be? See, I was a weird kid, guys. I used to think some weird stuff, but I actually thought, and I think I've said this in other places, that what would be the issue if a white kid said that I'm white and I'm proud? And there were, obviously there's like the skinhead and the white supremacy reference there, but what if it's just not? What if that's not the case? What if it's like a white dude's like, hey man, I'm really glad to be white, and like a black person could be glad to be black. I'm glad to be black. I get to talk into all kinds of topics where folks just cannot peg me for anything, so they call me a black white supremacist. So which makes no sense. But like what's the issue about a white person say, hey, I'm glad to be white? I mean, I got Mexican friends who are like, hey, I'm glad to be Mexican. Got Asians, same thing. You got Gay Pride Month. I mean, but and people talk about, well, what about White Pride Month? And some of that stuff is like, it does get into some of the racial issues, but to play the tape out for what it really means just for one group and then another group. Like, why can't somebody who's just a white person say, hey, I'm glad to be white? And I want you to think through this, just because it's not about an ethnic thing. See, with all this race stuff, and I use that term loosely because it is a loose freaking term. All this race stuff has nothing to do with people. It's got all to do with power. That's all it is. And if you don't see that and you think it's about, black people lifting black voices and, black people go through this or that. No, it's all been used as a way and a means to gain power. That's why a long time ago I did that video about BLM and what they really were doing through the Democrat Party. You all know it now. It was a ploy by Democrats to get power through black people. Okay, so that's what they wanted. They wanted to skew the vote so much toward racial stuff that black people would be ignited emotionally. So black folks got used. And of course, now you see that just how bad we are being used, because ain't nothing happening for black people right now under Biden. So anyway, I just want to make sure you understand that. But this is all about power. And so when you see people who want to draw the lines about, about this white supremacy thing and how in the white supremacists and, be scared of the racist boogeyman and all that stuff, you got to understand that the way it means that people have been using and keeping power is by dividing people off of what their skin color is. It's a simple ploy by Marxists. They just use it, but then they add a class aspect to it, which is, black people and being in ghettos, and black people, living in poverty and all this stuff. When if you look at to see really where these black people are living in poverty, where they're living in ghettos, you'd be surprised at which states they actually are in, which heavy democratic cities that they are governed by, and who really is in charge of these places. You got to know that stuff. But let me get back to the truth. The truth is that a person really should be glad for who they were born to be and who they are born as. So a person who might be from Venezuela, be proud and glad that you're born as a Venezuelan, as a Cuban, as an African, whether it be from Zimbabwe, be it from South Africa, whether it be from Uganda, whatever. You be proud of it. Be proud that you were born German. Be proud that you're born as an American black dude. Be proud that you're born as an American white dude, as a Canadian, whatever. So you got to understand, as a Mexican, whatever, okay? And the reason why I'm saying this is I understand what it says. And this is where it's going to be important for you people who negate the Bible. Every single image bearer is made in the likeness of God. Okay, understand that. So it's not that one's better than the other. It's that you were destined at a period of time to be born in a certain way, with a certain likeness, with a certain skin tone, with a certain ethnicity and culture. You were born for that. God destined that for you. He called you into finite time because it's His creation, for His purpose. You were not born to look at your skin color and say, man, I wish I wasn't white. I feel sorry for being white. or I'm angry because I'm black, or any of this stuff. You were born the way that you were born because God destined that for you. And why it's so important for you to even understand that is because if you think outside of it, you think that you have some control. You're angry at your parents that they're white. So, and some of this stuff is just ludicrous. But you being who you are, you were destined for that because that's what God wanted for you. He wanted you to be white. He wanted you to be black. He wanted you to be short or tall or what, to be female. And this is why when you see the social justice people who are all about equality, this is why, I'm going to talk about this in another place, but this is why it's so important to really realize these people have no real concept of identity. And they think that it's some sort of construct of of society, when in reality, it's what God destined for you. God wanted you to be black. God wanted you to be a female. God wanted you to be Asian. God wanted you to be Taiwanese. God wanted you to be from Thailand. God wanted you to be born in that place. But in all respect, in all intents and purposes, the whole purpose of it is for you to discover who Jesus was, because he's got a destiny and purpose for you. This is why when people think about, about Hinduism and about the caste system, that system is purely, humanistic. It literally enslaves people to believe that they have to live out as a lower class citizen to reach nirvana by being the best lower class citizen they could possibly be. That there's no way out of it. The gospel is completely contradictory to that. The gospel says that you were made in the likeness of God, and you have a destiny and purpose according to who God is, not according to how society desires and designed for any person what they look like to be according to somebody else's rules. You are destined by God to live in this time, which is why it's so weird that the social justice people, they're trying to rewrite history and relive the 60s and the 50s and the 40s as if that's right now, and it's not. So why I'm saying this to you is this. While all these crazy, weird people are trying to fix individuals of certain ethnicities with some sort of blame, some sort of shame, some sort of identity that's not theirs, some sort of like placing on them a mantle of shame upon them because of what they look like. You got to understand that if you don't believe in God, you're susceptible to this stuff. You're all susceptible to it. If you don't believe that in the beginning, before you were even created, because you were created, you were designed, you were destined for right now. In the beginning, if you think that you came from freaking some sort of atomic freaking, goo or moss, and you were born from a monkey, then of course you got, and this is why it's so Darwinianism, it's so stupid, dude. You understand, with the origin of species, the craniometry, the brain sizes, these people were freaking racist, dude. Like hella racist. But then they destined it to sound intellectual by using scientific terms. That's why it's so ridiculous with these terms, what these people actually believe about the Big Bang. Nothing doesn't create something. It's just dumb, okay? So let me get back to this, okay? If you are being led to believe that because of what you look like, you carry a level of shame, or you carry some sort of guilt, you are susceptible to white guilt, white fragility, and all these things. And when Christians own this stuff as being true, they're negating the truth of what Scripture says about what God has destined for individuals, that what God has in purpose for people. This is about Him being the image bearer, not us being image bearers of our own. It's God being the image bearer. And for you to be a white person, you be glad that God made you white. If you're black, be glad that God made you black. And this is something I want to say to you specifically for you white people. The reason why you find yourself so in tune to somebody like me, who is trying to lead you logically, ethically, morally, through that shame culture, through that cancel culture of your ethnicity, is because something inside of you is getting hit by what I'm saying about the truth of God. That's what's happening. You're not seeing like some conservative black dude talking. What you're seeing is a black guy who was born in America telling you about the gospel, living it as the gospel, because I know what it means to be created by God. And I'm trying to lead you down that way. I'm trying to show you that if you put your ethnicity above everything, you put your gender above everything, you put your sexuality above everything, what you've done is you made an idol out of your persona. And you cannot break that idol. Nobody can come against that idol, and you'll defend that idol, which is really yourself to the T. It's God trying to say to you through the uniqueness of his creation that there was a destiny for you and a purpose for you being born. As a white person, as a black person, as a woman, as a man, whatever. You were destined for it. But it all aligns scripturally in the truth of the gospel in that. So as I'm talking to you, and I'm trying to speak some sense into the nonsensical, understand the truth in this, that you should be and can be glad to be white. You can be glad to be black. Don't walk into any of the traps of supremacy stuff. Man, like don't fall into that crap, okay? The Nazism and the skinheads and those goofballs. In fact, I would love to, I mean, seriously, there are some skinheads out there that, I mean, are intellectually honest about what their real desires are. Okay, but there also are individuals who come from being skinheads. I've had conversations with dudes who were freaking skinheads before, who understand that, yeah, they were doing something stupid when they're younger. They don't buy into the ideology anymore, but they got to get through some of their own race issues, some of their racism. That's fine. Like I respect those conversations with those people because they're being intellectually honest with me. Hey, I was a freaking racist. I might still be a freaking racist. Kind of lead me through that stuff. Cool, dude. I would love to. I'd love to. But the people who out there who are stuck to their ideology because black supremacy also exists, Hispanic, Mexican supremacy also exists, so does white supremacy. All these things are sinful because the skin has become the idol. The skin's become the idol. So I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand this, okay? And I'm using just two ethnicities, white and black, that you can be glad to be black. You can also be glad to be white. You can be glad to be who you are because God made you that way. You are not an accident. You're not some cosmic dust and goo that was put together like, incidentally. No, you are destined for this time. You are destined by God, and you are destined to be here. You are destined to be who you are because God knows what you are. You're his. But the only way you're going to discover that is through the gospel. I'm just being real straight with you. So if you hear that stuff and you're like, well, you're a racist because you're glad to be white, or it's okay for you to have black pride and all that, you're not even doing it right, dude. You're not. And you might be believing some BS. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the BS. Don't let these people rule you. They should have no say in who you are as an individual because of what you look like. They shouldn't. Be blessed.